Good evening. This is the sea and the shore. A pair of gibbous creatures who lived in the sea since time began, which hadn't been long before, were washed upon the shore one day and became the discoverers of land. The light that never was, exclaimed the female, lying in the sand in the sun. You're always seeing things that never were, gambled the male. You're always wanting things that aren't yet. In the female, lying on the sand in the sun, a dim intuition and prescience began developing. She prefigured mistily things that would one day become rose point, lace and taffeta, sweet perfumes and jewelry. The male, who had a feeling only for wetness and wash, mumbled, "You're a little moist for things like that, a little moist and shapeless. I only need to lose a little amorphous around the waist," she said. "It won't take more than 1,000,000 years." She began floppering, almost imperceptibly, toward the scrubby brown growth beyond the sand and toward the sun. "Come on," she said. But the male had clawed back into the sea and was gone. A couple of eons later, the male, unable to get along alone, reappeared one day upon the shore. He noted with faint satisfaction that the female's shapelessness was beginning to take shape and had become almost shapely. He returned back toward the sea, but a mindless urge deep inside him took on the frail flicker of desire. Suddenly the sea seemed something less than satisfying. He turned about and began flobbering up the sand toward the female, who seemed certain to reach the greening undergrowth in another 2,000 years. "Hey, Mag," he shouted. "Wait for baby." Moral. Let us ponder this basic fact about the human. Ahead of every man, not behind him, is a human. Is a woman. Sorry, I read the top line. The truth about toads. One midsummer night, on the Fauna Club, some of the members fell to boasting, each of his own unique distinction or achievement. "I am the real macaw," squawked the macaw proudly. "Okay, Mac, take it easy," said the raven, who was tending bar. "You should have seen the one I got away from," said the marlin. "He must have weighed a good 235 pounds. If it weren't for me, the sun would never rise," bragged the rooster. "The desire of the night for the morrow would never be gratified." He wiped a tear away. "If it weren't for me, nobody would get up." "If it weren't for me, there wouldn't be anybody," the stork reminded him proudly. I tell them when spring is coming," the robin chirped. "I tell them when winter will end," the groundhog said. And I tell them how deep the winter will be," said the woolly bear. "I swing low when the storm is coming," said the spider. "Otherwise, it wouldn't come, and the people would die of a drought." The mouse got into an act. "You know where it says, 'Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse'?" he hiccuped. "Well, gentlemen, that little old mouse was little old me." "Quiet," said the raven, who had been letting a sign and now hung it prominently above the bar. "Open most hearts, and you will see graven upon them vanity." The members of the Fauna Club stared at the sign. "Probably means the wolf, who thinks he founded Rome," said the cat. "Or the great bear, who thinks he is made of stars," said the mouse. "Or the golden eagle, who thinks he's made of gold," said the rooster. "Or the sheep, who thinks men couldn't sleep unless they counted sheep," said the marlin. The toad came up to the bar and ordered a green mint frappe with a firefly in it. Fireflies will make you lightheaded, warned the bartender. Not me, said the toad. Nothing can make me lightheaded. I have a precious jewel in my head. The other members of the club looked at him in mingled disbelief. Sure, grinned the bartender. It's a toad pass, ain't it, Hoppy? It is an extremely beautiful emerald, said the toad coldly, moving the firefly from his frappe and swallowing it. Absolutely priceless emerald. More than priceless. Keep him coming. The bartender mixed another green and mint frappe, but he put a slug in it this time instead of a firefly. I don't think the toad has a precious jewel in his head, said the macaw. I do, said the cat. Nobody could be that ugly and live unless he had an emerald in his head. I'll bet you 100 fish he hasn't, said the pelican. I'll bet you 100 clam he has, said the sandpiper. The toad, who was pretty well frapped by this time, fell asleep, and the members of the club debated how to find out whether his head held an emerald or some other precious stone. They summoned the woodpecker from the back room and explained what was up. If he hasn't got a hole in his head, I'll make one, said the woodpecker. There wasn't anything there, gleaming or lovely or precious. The bartender turned out the lights. The rooster crowed. The sun came up, and the members of the fauna club went silently home to bed. Moral. Open most heads, and you will find nothing shining, not even a mind. The butterfly, the ladybug, and the phoebe. A phoebe, a bug winner for a nestless of fledglings, flew out one day to provide dinner for his family and came upon a ladybug in frantic flight. I know you can catch anything smaller than a golf ball and slower than sound, said the ladybug, for you are the fastest of the flycatchers. But my house is on fire, and my children will burn unless I fly away home. The phoebe, who had sometimes been guilty of wishing that his own house were on fire, let the ladybug fly away, and turned his attention to a beautiful butterfly. Is your house on fire, and will your children burn? The phoebe asked. Nothing so mundane as all that, said the butterfly. I have no children, and I have no house, for I am an angel, as anyone can see. She fluttered her wings at the world about her. This is heaven, she said. This is heaven, cried the fledglings, as one fledgling, when they had the butterfly for dessert that night. Moral. She who goes unarmed in paradise should first be sure that's where she is. This will be the last one for the night. Sleep well. The foolhardy mouse and the cautious cat. Such sport there had been that day, in the kitchen and in the pantry, for the cat was away and the mice were playing all manners of games. Mousie wants a corner, hide and squeak, one old cat, mouse in boots, and so on. Then the cat came home. Cat's back, whispered Farther Mouse. Into the wainscoting, all of you, said Mother Mouse. And all of the mice, except one, hastily hid in the woodwork. The exception was an eccentric mouse named Mervyn, who had once boldly nipped a bulldog in the ear and got away with it. Mervyn did not know at the time, and never found out, that the bulldog was a stuffed bulldog, and so he lived in a fool's paradise. The day the cat, whose name was Panchetta, came back from wherever she had been. She was astonished to encounter Mervyn in the butler's pantry, nonchalantly nibbling crumbs. She crept toward him in her stocking feet and was astounded when he turned, spit a crumb in her eye, and began insulting her with a series of insults. "How did you get out of the bag?" Mervyn inquired. Calmly, "Oh, put on your pajamas and take a cat nap." He went back to his nibbling at blasé as you please. "Steady, Panchetta," said Panchetta to herself. "There is more than meets the eye. This mouse is probably a martyr mouse. He swallowed poison in the hope that I will eat him and die, so that he can be a hero in 100 generations of his descendants." Mervyn looked over his shoulder at the startled and suspicious cat and began to mock her in a falsetto voice. "Do nicht washes," said Mervyn. "It's a posse cat in full pursuit of little me." He gestured impudently with one foot. "I went that away," he told Panchetta. Then he did some other imitations, including a pretty good one of W.C. Fieldmouse. "Easy, girl," said Panchetta to herself. "There is a mechanical mouse. This is a mechanical mouse, a trick mouse with a built-in voice. If I jump on it, it will explode and blow me into 100 pieces. Damned clever, these mice, but not clever enough for me." "You'd make wonderful violin strings if you had any guts," Mervyn said insolently, but Panchetta did not pounce, in spite of her insult unforgivable. Instead, she turned and stalked about of all the butler's pantry and into the sitting room, and lay down on her pillow near the fireplace and went to sleep. When Mervyn got back to his home in the woodwork, his father and mother and brothers and sisters and cousins and uncles and aunts were surprised to see him alive and well. There was great jollity, and the finest cheese was served at a family banquet. "She never laid a paw on me," Mervyn boasted. "I haven't got a scratch. I could take on all the cats in the Catskills." He finished his cheese and went to bed and fell asleep and dreamed of taking a catamount in 1 minute and 28 seconds of the first round. Moral: Fool's Rush is where angels fear to tread, and the angels are all in heaven, but few of the fools are dead. We'll end it with that one. Sleep well.